Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Two Footed Tackle podcast. I'm your host, Ari Stamatakos. We're back again for episode 11, episode or 10 in a row now. 10 podcasts in a row, if you double digit, 10 days in a row, 10 podcasts in a row. Wednesday, the 30th of November, and we now know the first two group stages are done. Done and dusted, we both know, or we now know what two sides will be going through in what positions and what four sides are going through in what positions I should say, and what four sides will be crashing out of the tournament and heading home nice and early. But before we start all that, before we get onto all that good stuff, I implore you all to first, I hope everyone's well, as always. Got to make sure that everyone's well. That's the main thing. And secondly, once again, subscribe to the For Tackle podcast on YouTube, and then do all the sharing and the liking on all the socials and the audio platforms and everything like that. It would mean the world to me, as always. Once again, links in the description on YouTube. And then links in the Linktree bio and Instagram bio as well. If you go there, click the link in either of those two bios, and then you'll see all the relevant information for this podcast. If you could go share it, if you like yourself, that would mean the world to me once again. But yes, thank you. Let's go straight away. Let's kick things off with the four games over the weekend now, or over the last day, I should say. And we all now know the four teams going through, the four teams crashing out in the first match day of the last round of group stages. Of course, was Ecuador versus Senegal, Netherlands versus Qatar, Iran versus USA, and Wales versus England. Of course, simultaneous kickoffs. No 9 p.m. kickoff, no 12 p.m. kickoff, which is frustrating, very very frustrating, because they're the kickoffs that I love. They're the kickoffs that were the best. They were just so good. Unfortunately, we can't get this out till 2 a.m., which is a little bit frustrating, but I guess we'll have to do that. We're going to have to do that 2 a.m., 6 a.m. for the rest of the tournament. I do believe the knockout stages on those time zones as well. So I think that's something we're going to have to live with and something we're going to have to fight through, but it is what it is. Of course, it was Ecuador versus Senegal and the Netherlands versus Qatar on at 2 a.m. And then, of course, Iran versus the USA and Wales versus England at 6. Now, let's go, because I want to try and get this out of the way, because I want to speak about Australia-Denmark a little bit at length. I want to, maybe not at length, but I want to speak about Australia-Denmark quite like lengthy. Oh yeah, at length. Quite in depth, and just speak about everything about surrounding that game, because fucking hell. It's really real now. It's really real. Anyway, let's go. Let's start with Group A. Let's start with Group A, and of course it was Ecuador, Senegal, Netherlands, Qatar, and the equation pre-game was which we touched on yesterday, was Senegal on 3 points, Ecuador on 4 points, Netherlands on 4 points, Qatar on 0 points. Netherlands pretty much just needed to beat Qatar, which they did quite comfortably, and then of course Senegal versus Ecuador. Basically, the winner of that, assuming or under the assumption that Netherlands would get the job done against Qatar, the winner of that would go through. Or, if there was a draw, Ecuador would go through. Now. This was, both games were relatively interesting in their own right. I feel like Netherlands Ecuador started as pretty much everyone expected it to start. Netherlands Qatar, started as pretty much how everyone expected it to start. Netherlands dominated from the opening minute, really. They were just dominant. They were just dominant from minute one. They were more aggressive on the ball, more assertive on the ball, looking to dominate possession, carry the ball forward, gain territory, hold possession in the final third. And it was really a simple, I want to say simple performance, because I feel like that's doing it a little bit of an injustice, but it was a real, very calm, very cool, very nonchalant style to the game, or start to the game, I should say. Just going about their business comfortably, not really being under any threat, and then they found the breakthrough eventually through Cody Gakpo in the 28th minute, I think it was, 26th minute. So, Cody Gakpo's a freak. He's a he's a freak. He's a baller, and I flagged him pre-tournament. I said he'd be the breakout star. Um, I said he'd be the breakout star. Apologies, and he was. He definitely is, at least for the group stage. Of course, the Netherlands do have a pretty good opportunity to go quite far. Of course, we all know who they're versing in the next round. So he just is a freak. Can play centrally, can play out wide. Very versatile. Such a good goal scorer. Very good in terms of being able to carry the ball. Has a nice build to him, nice stature, so he can really go through the motions of the game quite well. Start to be physically more competitive with a lot of tough tackling centre halves. I just thought he was fantastic again. I just thought he was outstanding again, and a lot of people are kind of looking at him saying, is he a striker? Is he a winger? Of course, he plays up front in this Dutch team, or at least he played up front in this game normally, or at the start of the tournament at least he played on the just as a 10. But he was moved up front alongside Memphis Depay in this game, and he was exceptional. I think with him playing as a 9, he can be a little bit more fluid with the way that he plays, especially when they play 3. When they play with 2 strikers, he doesn't necessarily need to be the striker and just like hold his position. He can float, he can fling between the lines and really just be expansive and be fluid with the way he plays. So I think he floated onto the left-hand side quite a lot throughout the game, and I feel like that suits him quite a lot. I mean, the goal came from him coming in from the left-hand side, so I guess that goes to show that that's his main really position, and that's where he likes to do most of his damage, is when he comes in off that left-hand side and really shows his talents that way. However, I just thought he was outstanding from start to finish. Got the goal nice and early. Was being such a threat within the game, like I said, and just proves to be too much for the Qatari defence to handle, and it shows that gapping quality was so great when Gakpo got on the ball and when he really started to drive at the defence and really take the game on. I mean, that's where his goal came from, right? His goal came from him driving at the defence, driving at that back line and taking the game on. So I think once again that gapping quality really came to a head there. And then if we take a look at the second goal, Frankie de Jong, once again another player which just the gapping quality, and I feel like this is a pretty good kind of summation of Qatar in the tournament. Of course, they are out. We all knew that they were out. Last round, they were the first team eliminated, the earliest host side eliminated, the second host side ever to be eliminated. So we all knew we talked about them a little bit at depth last time, or last. It wouldn't have been the last episode. It would have been a couple of episodes ago when they got knocked out. But it's a shame. It's a massive shame, because you can speak about all you want, like about them being very unlikable and very hard to support. But at the end of the day, the players are so innocent to everything, right? So the players are so innocent to everything. They literally have nothing to do. They're just putting on a shirt and running out on the pitch 11 versus 11. So for them to be as unliked as what they are is a little bit harsh. However, once again, it is very justifiable due to the nation they represent and what that nation has been over the past couple of years, and what probably will continue to be for at least a few more. Is very disappointing. It's disappointing in a way that it makes them unlikable. But they fell at the earliest stage. They fell the earliest time ever a host nation's fallen, and it is one of those things, isn't it? It is one of those things where in 12 months' time, or 8, 12, 24, 36, 48 months' time, we're going to be looking at this and thinking, yeah, fuck, they were terrible. They're not going to be fondly remembered. This Qatari team, 1 goal scored throughout the tournament. I think 7 conceded or 8 conceded. Yeah, 7 conceded, 1 goal scored, no points, no real chance of winning any games. And then if it felt like from minute one they were abysmal, and they were just not up to scratch. They were not there. And it's a shame. It's a massive shame, really. Massive shame, because I had them getting out of the group. I had faith in them. Of course, Asian Cup winners, CONCACAF Gold Cup quarterfinalists. Yeah, it is one of those things. It is one of those things, unfortunately. But I guess it goes to show that not all, like, the grass isn't necessarily greener. When you spend all this money, when you have all these high expectations, when you make a program that you so heavily built around getting the best out of players for this tournament in particular, for them to get no points, score 1 goal, concede 7, and not really get close to winning a game, it's disappointing for them. It's quite funny for the rest of the world. But as a neutral football fan, I want the host nation to do well. Just because they're the host nation, you want to see that kind of be represented. Notoriously, the host nation has done well. Of course, South Africa and bloody fucking Qatar are the only two sides to be knocked out of the group stage. As host nations, of course, you go back to Russia did well in 2018, Brazil did well in 2014, Germany did okay in 2006. I think they made the semis, I think, in 2006. 2002, we all know what happened with South Korea in particular. 98 with France made and won the final. 94 in USA 94. I can't remember what they did. And Italia 90, of course, Italy always do well. So, just need to find out where. Yeah, so Germany finished in the semis, like I thought. Yeah, but yeah, there you go. It is, like I said, as a neutral person, it is disappointing to see the host nation go out. But yeah, it is one of those things. It is one of those things. Let's move on to the other game, and the game that potentially held a lot more weight, and that was Ecuador Senegal. Yeah, wow, wow, what a game, right? What a game. It was a game which held a lot of ramifications. Probably the first game of the tournament, which held the most jeopardy, and which held true jeopardy. Senegal needed to win to get through. Ecuador, all they needed was a point, and it was a pretty. I wouldn't say intense start, but it was a pretty kind of clear to see what the game was going to be first half, if that makes sense. Senegal had the most of the ball in the first maybe half an hour, 40 minutes, even 45 minutes. In fact, the whole first half, if I'm looking back and thinking about it, they dominated it quite convincingly. They dominated it quite well. And they really, I wouldn't say they outplayed Ecuador to a massive extent, but they definitely were able to play football really well, as you normally should be able to do when you're at the World Cup. But they were able to repel the danger Ecuador posed to them. They were able to really just hold Ecuador back and really just slowly build attacks from there. Of course, their first goal came from a penalty. I think it might have been Ismail Assar who earned it. It was definitely Ismail Assar who tucked it away quite coolly and quite composedly. I think he might have earned it as well, and it was a stonewall pen. No real controversy around that. The ball player came across the Senegal attacker, swiped him out completely. Didn't really get anywhere near the ball. Clear pen. Yeah, no real controversy there. However, the game proceeded, and the halftime came and went, and Ecuador got back into the game. They started the second half extremely brightly. They started very aggressive. They started very assertive in the way that they were playing. They were, like I said, with Netherlands at the start of their game. Ecuador were carrying the ball. They were being very aggressive, gaining territory, being really assertive in the way that they were playing, and they found their reward through Moses Caicedo. And if any player was deserving of a goal in this tournament, it was Moses Caicedo, because he's been fantastic for Ecuador. He's probably Ecuador's star man, along with other players like Valencia and Plata and maybe Estepanian as well. But no, it was Caicedo who got the goal and got Ecuador back in the game, and had them at that stage 33 minutes or 23 minutes and counting, or 23 minutes plus stoppage time away from a round of 16 berth against the first place side of the next group, which was practically England. But we all know it was England from now. However, 3 minutes later, heartbreak again. Football tears your heart out. stabs you in the heart, stabs you in the back, tears your heart out of your chest and rips it into a million tiny pieces. Kalidou Koulibaly breaks Ecuadorian hearts within 3 minutes, and football's a cruel game. Football is the cruelest game of all. You can't expect it to be anything else because of the way that this sport goes. Yeah, all of a sudden Ecuador back to where they started, back on the back foot, and we all kind of knew this was going to happen. And it was a frantic last maybe 20 minutes. Last 10 minutes, stoppage time in particular was frantic. Ecuador had chances after chances. Probably could have scored. Probably. Apologies. Apologies once again. I'm very sick. I'm very sick, as you probably could tell. But we fight through. That's no excuse. As I think I might have just changed the camera angle slightly, unfortunately, but it is what it is. What was I saying? Yeah, Ecuador probably could have scored and potentially even should have scored, but once again, that is no excuse for the way the game panned out, because Senegal were the team that scored, and Senegal were the team that won, and Senegal were the team that went through. It was a frantic last couple of minutes, frantic game, chances after chances after chances, but it is what it is, hey? It is what it is. It's football, and that, of course, leaves Netherlands and Senegal through in first and second place on 7 points and +4 goal difference, and 6 points with a +1 goal difference, respectively. Qatar finish rock bottom with no points and -6 goal difference, and Ecuador finish on fourth, 4 points with a +1 goal difference. If we take a look at, I was gonna say let's look at my group predictions, but we're gonna react to my group predictions at the end of the group stage. I feel like that's a good way to do it. But if you remember it, I didn't start well, haven't started well, but it is what it is. And yeah, I think that's enough for Group A. There you go, Group A done, dusted. See you, bye. Now I've just realised I forgot to turn the lights on in my room. So if the lighting's been a little bit weird this episode, and I've been looking at it through my laptop, I was like, why does the lighting look weird? And I realised, the lights aren't on. So bear with me. I'm just going to turn the lights on, get the lighting fixed, and I'll be back. Okay, we're back. If you're watching on YouTube, now the lighting's a little bit better. I noticed it, and I was like, I look really, not orange, but I looked very bright. And I was like, yeah, because I've just got a really harsh light shining just on my face and no other lighting. Hence why I looked bright and everything else looked dark. But no, I've got the balance in the lighting right now. With the two house lights. And they're the same tint as my LED light that's on top of my camera. So it just works. And now I don't look as bright and as orange potentially as what I did, but no, we're here and I'm looking at it in my laptop and the lighting looks a lot better. So that's great. Let's move on. And the thing is, with live editing, I don't have to do anything in post. I just pause the recording live on OBS, which is great. So that just saves me a bunch of time, which I need, because I'm going to address it now. Yesterday's pod. Okay, I've had it with YouTube. This is going to be very out of context if you don't know what's happened, if you don't follow the socials, or if you just didn't realize that the podcast yesterday was really late. I've had it with YouTube. I've had it. So I've now come to the conclusion that this podcast will be out when it's out. I'm not going to give a timeline anymore. Hopefully it should be around about 2 p.m. If not, maybe 3, maybe 4. I've had it. I've just had it with YouTube, because these upload times range from 40 minutes to 2.5 hours, and it doesn't give me a reason for why either time is happening. It is one of those things where it goes out when it goes out. I can't control it. I've tried different methods. Nothing seems to work. It's currently 9:48 a.m. I wanted to record this straight after the 6 o'clock game at 8 o'clock, but I fell asleep at full time. I literally watched the game, closed my laptop, was like, all right, let me just rest my eyes for 2 seconds. I rested my eyes, I woke up and it was 9:15. So That was exactly what I needed. But ideally, I want to get this filmed at 8, so I gave myself as much time as possible. But it's currently 20 minutes. It's 9:50. So realistically, I should start to upload this at 10:10 at the earliest, probably 10:15. So that gives me 10:15 gives me 3 hours and 45 minutes to get it uploaded. Just under 4 hours to get it uploaded. If this isn't out by 2, if this is not out by 2 p.m., then for fucking hell, then anyway, that's enough of my rambling. Let's move on. Let's go to England, Wales, Iran, USA. Now, the equation really was very, very similar to the Group A game, to the Group A equation. Wales versus England was pretty much the banker. England were going to win quite comfortably, and that really didn't have a whole lot of kind of branding. That didn't really have a whole lot of consequences on the group. The only way it would is if England lost by 4 goals or something. If England lost by 4 goals, which, Wales, with all due respect, my friend. So it was, of course, down to just USA versus Iran, and very similarly to what was the game before, all Iran needed was a point, and they were through. USA needed to win. Now, let's touch on Wales, England, just briefly. I wouldn't say heavily rotated side, but definitely a rotated side to a certain extent. Rashford starts for England, Henderson starts for England, Bellingham starts in a little bit more of a advanced position. Of course, slightly rotated. Kane starts up front again. No Callum Wilson, which confuses me, especially in a meaningless game like this when you were just going to win regardless. But it was dominance from England from start to finish. No real issues, and of course it was a goal. It was goals within 2 minutes. 50th minute, 51 minute. Rashford, Foden. Game, set, match. Thank you very much. Wales, see you bye. Wales. Well, what can I say, my friend? What can I say? A lot of people had you going through the group. A lot of people were overrating you to a certain extent. But I unfortunately, I'm very harsh on Wales. I predicted them pre-tournament to finish bottom. I said a couple of podcasts ago that a lot of people were overrating them, and I think they were overrated. I really like them. Like, I do. Like, this may be like the kind of, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to describe this, but like Wales, the US, England, Scotland, Ireland, I really like them. Like, I really like those things. Probably it's because I'm not going to say it's just because I can speak English, but it probably is. But, that's just by the by, I think. I just really like the teams from the British Isles, and the US as well. Always, my dog starts barking if you can hear it, if it's going to pick up on the mic. But I really wanted Wales to do well. I really did. That's why I wanted Scotland to do well in the last Euros. I always want Ireland to qualify and all this stuff, right? Northern Ireland, where Wilgree's on fire. So I really wanted them to go through. If I could choose, it probably would be England, Wales, or England, Iran. Actually, I really didn't care who got through because each side I really had an affiliation towards. Wales, I liked the underdog story, and I like Wales in terms of the people and stuff. The USA, because I really like their team. Apologies. I really like the US team, I really do. And Iran representing Asia, right? So I really couldn't care less who finished second. But they went to a back four for this game, and Paddy moved into the single pivot in midfield, Allen and Ramsey either side. They really didn't have anything. So see you, Wales. Goodbye. Ciao. Arrivederci. What's goodbye in Welsh? Probably I love sheep. Let's go to Iran versus the USA. Now, once again a very similar situation to Ecuador versus Senegal. So, Iran needed a point, USA needed 3, and that was the equation. So the game started very similarly to how it started in Senegal, Ecuador. The USA, the team who needed to win, got on top of the game nice and early, really dominated things. Didn't really allow Iran a whole lot. and the goal came in the 40th minute, 38th minute. Christian Pulisic was completely taken out, but also scored the goal, so you have to give him credit there. He obviously did get subbed off at halftime because of the injury sustained, I'm pretty sure. So, there you go. But, it was the goal that gave the USA the lead, and it was the goal that they hung on to and hung on to for dear life, as apologies, as the USA scored that goal and then put the foot off the pedal just a little bit. They saw at halftime relatively comfortably. They went into halftime. Of course, they made that change. Pulisic came out for Brendan Aronson, who I wouldn't say straight swap, but it's a swap in terms of the same positions. Aronson offers something a little bit different, something a little bit more playmaker-ish, not as direct as Pulisic, but it was a pretty much straight swap. Let's be honest. And then from maybe the first 30 minutes of the first half, for the first maybe 30 minutes of the first half, it was a pretty dull affair. I think Iran didn't really get back into the game as much as what they would have hoped. They didn't really put the foot on the throttle as much as what they would have hoped. And they were just kind of waiting for the USA to make a mistake. That's what it felt like. It felt like they really didn't have a plan. They were just waiting on the US to stuff up and try and capitalize on those mistakes. So, I mean, it is what it is. Like, you can't really kind of take a whole lot from that maybe first 30 minutes because it wasn't really Iran or the USA playing at their best. But in the last maybe 15 minutes of that half, Iran really put the foot on the throat and try to score and try to get back into the game, and the USA was just holding on for dear life. I mean, if you look at their subs, they brought on Zimmerman for Timothy Weah at the 82nd minute, so we all knew what they were doing, just parking the bus style thing. So Iran needed a goal, and they potentially could have gotten a goal and potentially shouldn't have gotten a goal in the last second. The ball falls to, I think it was Mahed Taremi in the box, who, instead of trying to put his foot through the ball, tries to go down and play for a pen. Pen's not given. It was never going to be given. And a heartbreak for Iran because they were in a very similar position back in 2018 where they could have qualified out of the absolute group of death, in terms of they had Spain and Portugal, two sides who probably should have got realistically they should have won both of their games and drew against each other. But they could have gotten through this group again. Yes, it was a relatively easier group in comparison, but it still would have been a massive achievement. But no, they fell in the 9 minutes of stoppage time. They couldn't find the goal. They couldn't find that goal to send them through. And yeah, it was one of those things where, like I say that phrase a lot. It's one of those things because because football, there's very few unique situations in football. So you have to draw on past experiences. You have to draw on past things that have happened and look at the reaction to those things and look at what could and the outcomes of those things. And you can't really, how do I describe this? You can't really kind of sulk, and you can't really get down about it because you had your chance. If Taremi just scores, just doesn't play for the power, I'm pretty sure it was Mahed Taremi. Apologies if it wasn't. But, I might just double check that actually, if I can find it play-by-play. Taremi. Would he have scored if he had just shot? Probably not. It was maybe it's 50-50 chance. But there was no contact on the penalty at all. Absolutely no contact on the penalty. I don't know why he tried to play for it in that blatantly. If I'm an Iranian person, I'm heartbroken. I'm shattered. But it's football. Football's a harsh game. Football's a cruel game, and Iran definitely did themselves proud. After that 6-2 drubbing at the hands of England, a lot of people were saying they were shit. They were not good enough. How can this be the best team in Asia type thing? And a lot of people were criticising Asian football off the back of it. But despite them not getting through, despite them not qualifying for the round 16, they did the continent proud. They did the continent really proud, and they obviously beat Wales. They potentially could have at least gotten a point with the USA. And I think that 6-2 result was a little bit more of a justifier, or at least a at least a kind of notion of just how good England were rather than how bad Iran were. And I think a lot of people hadn't realised that, and a lot of people didn't realise that, and maybe didn't want to realise that. But this Iranian side was good, and they beat Wales in absolute manic fashion, I should say, which caused absolute scenes. And the US go through, and when you look at the when you look at the USA, it's very interesting because a lot of people have this stigmatization about them and this kind of sticking your nose up at them, saying, "Oh, they're American. What do they know? They can't be any good." But when you look at that team, it is littered with talent, absolutely littered with talent. It's such a well balanced team. Up front, you've got so much quality: Pulisic, Weah, who just two of many fantastic attackers. Those midfield three, or that midfield three in particular, when it's on form, is one of the most balanced midfields at the World Cup. Adams sitting at the base of midfield with McKennie and Musa either side of him. It's such a balanced midfield, and I always had a feeling that they would get out of the group because of the talent that they had. If they got a result against England, which they did, they could have definitely beaten both Iran and Wales. And it's a team that, while it's built for 2026, and while this team will make a splash in 2026, and in my opinion potentially get all the way to the quarters or the semis, they need to plant the seeds in Qatar, and getting out of the group is one way to plant the seeds. And if they can get a result against the Netherlands and go through to the quarterfinals, then that's going to do them a world of confidence. That's going to do the sport a world of confidence and a world of good in America. And who knows what they can do in 2026. They're going to be a force. They're going to be a force in 2026. And we saw just a couple of sprinkles of that, of what force they could be in Qatar. So, USA get out of the group in pretty comfortable fashion, with all due respect to the other teams. But, it was a great performance from start to finish from them. So, that is... Apologies once again. So what I've realised, as soon as I start coughing, because I think I might have some form of illness, if you couldn't tell, um, um, sorry, I've got some form of illness. If you couldn't tell by the cough, and you couldn't tell by, they slightly like tensing whenever I kind of, that's sort of tensing whenever I like go to speak, is because I think I may have A, tonsillitis, and B, COVID or some other form of respiratory illness. And I said this the other day. I was like, so you're having tonsillitis when you need to record like 11 podcasts in 22 days. No, 11 podcasts in 18 days. I can think of more ideal things in the world. I can genuinely think of more ideal things in the world. So, um, got to fight through it. Got to fight through it. The show goes on, and I don't really want to don't want to disappoint anyone. But yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, let's move on, and let's move on to the preview, shall we? Because I said I wanted to speak about the Group D quite at depth, and let's speak on Group D before we touch on Group C, because that's how it works. Here we go. Judgment Day. Judgment Day. This is the position I wanted to be in. This is the position I wanted to be in. I wanted to be in this position where final day, the results, our destiny is in our own hands. A point, and we should go through. A win, we're done. We're through. Destiny's in your own hands, lads. Destiny's in your own hands. And you don't need to look at the result. You just need to block the result out. You would probably hope France get the job done, but it's football at the end of the day. France will probably give it. France have announced they'll be announcing a very rested lineup. With that saying, of course, the French C team could probably make the quarters if you think about it, right? So, yeah, the destiny's in your own hands, lads. This is. I didn't feel nervous, but starting to speak about it now, I feel very nervous. I feel very, very nervous. This is such a big game because, I mean, I don't want to speak about if we get to the round of 16, but let's just live in a fantasy world for a second, and this is something that could happen, probably won't happen. Hopefully, it does happen, but let's just live in a fantasy world for a second. Say Australia get a point and France beat Tunisia. Two very, very reasonable results. Two results that could happen, right? And if we go to Group C, say Poland draw to Argentina. That could happen. Poland draw to Argentina, and Saudi Arabia beat Mexico. We verse Saudi Arabia in the round of 16. Or say Poland draw to Argentina. We're not versing Argentina. So apologies. If Poland get a point against Argentina, and by that stage you already know if we were going through, and that stage if we're going through, we probably finish second. I don't think there's any. We can't finish first, can we? Under any situation, I mean, we can finish first if we win 4-0 and France lose 4-0. But I mean, fuck me, right? We would already know that we'd finish second by that stage, or if we went through. So that means if Poland just get a point against Argentina, we verse either Poland or Saudi Arabia in the round of 16. I mean. This has to give them that extra bit of punch, that extra bit of oomph. Because apologies. Because I've seen sporting teams before play a game where they know if they win this game, they have to verse a very hard team. So that they're probably going to lose against. So that kind of just doesn't give them that extra 5% to go and win that game, because they know if we win, we're probably going to get knocked out tomorrow anyway. Whereas knowing that you could verse Poland or Saudi Arabia, two teams, yeah, they're good teams. Yeah, they're better than us probably. But they're much more beatable than Argentina. Much more beatable than Mexico, in fact. So if that doesn't give them that extra bit of oomph, I don't know what will. Your destiny's in your own hands, lads. The destiny's in your own hands. They've got it. They've got it right there. What lineup would I play? I'd go with the same team, just with Hrustic in from McGree. And the key to this game, tactically, get on top of that double pivot. Bully, Højbjerg, and Eriksson. This is why I say you might want to start Devlin. If you can get on top of them, you get on top of the team. We saw against Tunisia, we got on top of that double pivot and we bullied them in midfield and we dominated the game that way. If we can do that against Denmark, we can dominate the game again. All we need is a point, boys. All we need is a point. I didn't think I'd be saying this at the start of the tournament, but I feel like we're going to see a Mitchell Duke masterclass again. Goodwin on the left-hand side. Come on, boys. I thought Saturday night would be the greatest day of my life. If we get through here, it would be the greatest day of my life. Sporting life, anyway. Let's be honest. I'm 18. I haven't really experienced anything. Maybe if I get married and have a kid. Come on. I just can't stop thinking about it. Potential possibilities. Anyway, Australia, Denmark, Tunisia, France, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Poland, Argentina. Give predictions. Once again, I'm not giving predictions for the Australia-Denmark game. Tunisia, France. So if there's a draw in both games, we're through as well. Fuck, alright. I'm going to go 1-0 France. No, 1-0 France. I've said it. First answer, 1-0 France. Australia, Denmark, I'm not giving a prediction. Saudi Arabia, Mexico. I'm going to go 2-0 Saudi Arabia. Poland, Argentina. If I'm using my head and not taking into like account what could happen with Australia, if I'm just thinking about this game rationally, I think Argentina should win. I'll go 1-0 Argentina. So that would mean it would be Argentina top, Saudi Arabia second. There you go. Okay, we're done. Thank you all very much for watching another episode. Tomorrow could be a very, very depressing episode, or it could be one of the happiest moments of my life. Guess you just have to wait and see. But yes, thank you all very much for watching once again. Tune in tomorrow, where I may be depressed, I may be elated, but I guess that's the lottery of football. Make sure you subscribe, leave a like on it, share it around, it mean the world to me. Give your predictions and thoughts in the comment section below. Manifest positivity for the Socceroos. Manifest positivity for Australia. Even if you're not Australian, listening to this, it would mean the world to me if you could jump on the bandwagon and carry my boys home. It would mean the world to me. But yes, tune in tomorrow for either a very depressed or a very, very happy host, Ari Stamatakos. Why do I reference myself in A, the third person, and B, by full name? It is what it is. Anyway, it's 10:10. I'm going to get this uploaded before YouTube decides this is going to take 4.5 weeks to upload. Thank you for watching. See you guys next time. Goodbye.